guys ever start a new artwork and you have this moment when you ask yourself, what am I actually doing? That happens to me every single time, especially on this painting because this is only my third digital painting. My original background is in fine art, oil painting and such. So I just decided to approach this the same way that I would do a traditional painting in real life. And I'm really sorry because the idea to screen record this actually kind of came a little late in the game, as you can see. But I still have some really awesome tricks and secrets to share with you guys that really helped me as a digital newbie get through this. Now I'm starting with a black and white underpainting and I'm just throwing in the colors in there. I'm not getting too detailed and I'm not noodling around. I'm just filling in those values. I'm starting off with like a black and white underpainting, so to speak, for a couple different reasons. The main reason is because I find personally when I do a black and white underpainting first, my final outcome is more dimensional and it has more form and it takes on more of the shape. I think it's because it forces me to layer on more colors to cover up that initial black and white underpainting. So for me, it's just always been a really good technique, and it's always good as an artist to freshen up on your value skills. And secondly, as I mentioned to you guys earlier, since I'm fairly new to this, the Wacom tablet and all of the Photoshop brushes, this is all like foreign territory to me. So I wanted to just go in with the black and white, get a feel for the brushes, get a feel for the tablet, get comfortable doing it. So that way, by the time I get to the color, I could feel like a boss. Just a little friendly reminder, if you guys like this video, please make sure that you hit the thumbs ups down below and don't forget to subscribe. I really enjoy doing this digital painting and I plan on posting a lot more videos about it, so make sure you subscribe so you can see what's next. Now I'm starting to fill this in with color, and I must say that throwing in the color over the black and white is the most satisfying experience ever. I'm using the eyedropper tool to pinpoint my colors from my original reference. That's one of the pluses of digital art, is it's a lot easier to grab your colors. Just a quick tip, I actually programmed my Wacom pen so that way the buttons toggle in between the eyedropper and then back to the paintbrush. This makes the whole workflow really smooth. And what I'm doing really is I'm just getting in a whole layer of color. I'm not trying to blend any lines. I'm not trying to be perfect. I just want to get the whole base filled in with some color, especially before I start working on the details. I also want to call out that for this entire painting, I'm only using 4 brushes that I modified the settings on. They're all based on the hard round brush. I think when you're first starting, it feels really tempting and really easy to want to just use the soft round brushes because they're really smooth. All the strokes that you do just blend in with each other. But what I found is that when you use soft brushes for the whole thing, your final outcome just has a very soft, unrealistic look, like almost cartoonish. I mean, unless that's the look that you're going for, then I don't suggest just always sticking to the soft brushes. If anybody wants to try out my brushes that I'm using here in this video, I will put them down in the description below so you can download them. They're nothing fancy, but they worked really, really good for me here, so maybe they'll work for you too. I also find it to be extremely overwhelming when there's so many brushes loaded in the brush panel and so many to choose from and mixing them all together. I think it's just me because I am trying to get the hang of this, and maybe if you're new to digital art also, you kind of got to get the feel and kind of got to get used to all of those brush options too. But in the beginning, for me, I just felt overwhelmed, and it just felt a lot easier and more simplified to just stick to my 4 brushes that I know. Since I have a background in like oil painting, whenever I do oil paintings in real life, I normally always use 2 to 3 brushes for the whole entire painting. I've never been the type of artist to just switch and use a whole bunch of different brushes. So I guess for me, that carries over into my digital work as well. Another little quick tip is I programmed my hotkeys on the left side of my Wacom tablet to toggle the brush size from bigger to smaller. So that helps the workflow too. Now I'm just gonna slow it down right here because I really want you guys to pay attention to what's happening. I have my opacity super light and I'm throwing in some bright yellows on the highlights, some oranges and reds along the cheeks, and some purples in the shadows. Several years ago, I actually took a course at the School of Visual Arts. It was a portrait painting class from an actual live model. The professor, his name is John Parks, and he used to always say, juice up those colors. When you look at a person's skin tone, it's not just flat browns and neutral tones. There's reds in there, there's pinks, there's oranges, there's purples. There's so much color and translucency in the skin tone. And if you just look at this before and after, you could really see how those colors just make it pop. I'm going in and I'm fine-tuning and finessing my details, especially on the ears. You really want to give the ears some love and attention. I've seen so many portraits, and I'm guilty of this myself, where everything looks so good, but then the ears just look like, oh, couldn't be bothered with the ears. So you don't want that. In case you're wondering, I just threw a black layer in the backdrop so I can easily see my edges. It's just temporary. And I'm working on my hair. I'm using this really thin mixer brush. That way it blends in with the color below it and it doesn't look so sharp. And zooming in and just cleaning up all my edges, getting everything fine-tuned. I'm finishing up my backdrop. You're gonna see me toggling in between layers here because I'm really just trying to see the colors that I'm missing so I could fill everything in. And I'm just experimenting with duplicating the layer and applying some effects, adjusting the brightness, and just playing around with it until it looks realistic. One more really helpful thing that you guys need to remember is if you're doing your own projects, from the very beginning, use as many layers as possible. The layers give you the freedom to experiment. They give you the freedom to toggle them on and off. If you make a mistake, you can easily remove it. At the bare minimum, you want to have at least your top sketch, your backdrop, and your subject on 3 different layers. I also suggest keeping your black and white if you're doing a black and white, and your color on 2 different layers as well. I'm just zooming in now to fill in all the little areas that I missed and to touch up all the little details. And I'm finally done. It looks so good. My only complaint is it's a little bit dark and it's a little purpley and I want to warm it up a little bit. I'm gonna use Camera Raw Filter in Photoshop to make all of my adjustments to my liking, and here it goes, finished.